I'm disappointed in pastors who are supposed to be exegetes of the word, who look at this passage and go, "Hey, we can't vote for Trump because of this verse."
Well, frankly, it feels very much like those pastors are just looking for something they can hand their people as an excuse not to. Hey friends, my name's Tanner Cartwright. This is Jerry Doris. We're here with Snake on the Table. This morning we've got a pretty interesting question.
Yeah.
What do we got, brother?
We got the election coming up, and we got a lot of friends and family and different people that we know that are wondering why we're voting for Trump and why we're not convinced. So this is the question. Why are you voting for Trump and unconvinced by the arguments against him?
So that's there's been question. A lot of arguments from people on our side that we shouldn't vote for Trump.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of people that are like they feel like they have an exegetical argument for why they're doing that. They point to different passages specifically, like Exodus 18:21 and Exodus 23 would be some passages. So we've listed out a few passages that we've heard put forward, and just wanted to kind of walk through those and why those are unconvincing to us. But I'm voting for Trump enthusiastically because he is the best man. And I think really he's the guy for the moment right now. I think that his position on abortion is lamentable and horrific. And you and I, we've talked about this. We will hold him account. You won't hear us just giving a pass to Trump if he should win on Tuesday. But we're going to go after him on all these issues. And because there's not a specific policy in place or anything like that, it's all theoretical right now. I really feel like he has been responsive in the past on this particular issue.
Yes.
And so I'm enthusiastically voting. I want somebody to go in there and just kick down walls, right? Take down names. And I think that's what Trump is going to do. That's my hope. I think that he's going to be God's instrument of just cleaning house.
Well, as somebody said a while back on Twitter, I would literally vote for a wrecking ball at this point.
Yeah,
a literal wrecking ball.
And I think he is the wrecking ball.
Yes, 100%. So I'm actually voting today. I've got to vote early voting because I got to go back.
Yeah, today's Saturday.
Today's Saturday.
Before
I've got
the
to
election.
go back to Vermont.
So.
Me and my wife will go vote today.
So let's look at some of these passages. We can talk positively. I'm for him. I think he actually has the character and demeanor that I'm looking for. I'm positive.
I'm not holding my nose when I go to vote.
Yeah, so
I'm really not.
Yeah, a lot of people say this is the lesser of two evils. I don't think it's that way at all.
It's the better of two choices.
Yeah, well, one is evil, and I think the other is not just less evil. I mean, all of us have propensity towards sin and stuff like that. But anyway, so I'm positive for him.
Yes.
I love his demeanor. I love his, his courage.
Frankly, his leadership.
Yeah, I love his leadership.
Yeah. And
you can't listen to the Joe Rogan interview that he had. Did you listen to that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, he is so versed in all these topics. And
3 hours. It's 78.
Yeah.
I never saw him take a drink of water. The dude is a beast.
Of course, now, if you were to take out all the times that he talks about himself and how great he is and stuff, it would have been about a 15-minute interview. But
whatever.
he's the guy.
That's him.
So. All right, let's look at some passages. I just have our question in front of me, so I'm going to go.
Let me read.
So Exodus 18:21. Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, and this is in the context of Jethro telling Moses Moses' father-in-law Jethro telling him he needs to spread out his leadership. He needs more help with judging the people. So he says this: "Furthermore, you shall select out of all the people able men who fear God, men of truth, those who hate dishonest gain, and you shall place these over them as leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens."
There you go.
Yeah. So
Trump doesn't fear God. He's not a man of truth. He loves dishonest gain.
Yeah.
And
done
deal, right?
Well, I don't see that there's very much proof that he is not a man of truth or that he likes dishonest gain.
Those are the slanders against him.
Yes. I'm not convinced by that he is that man, for one thing.
Yeah.
But for another thing, my main problem with this passage is we're talking about Moses, who is the head of Israel. He's the king of Israel at this point.
Yeah.
And he is being told to choose.
The judge.
He is the ultimate judge of the land.
Yeah.
And he's being told he has the authority to choose and select men who fit this criteria. Mm-hmm. This is not the situation we're in.
Meaning he can go through, based upon reputation, and say, I would like to have this guy and this guy and this guy. These are all heads and tribes, and these are respected people. They have a reputation.
Yes.
So he's able to go through the land and choose them.
Yes.
To help judge the cases, to take the burden off of him.
Yep. This is not the case. This is not what we have.
No, this is not a binary choice between two different individuals. What's shameful to me is I know many Christians are pointing to this verse and they're seeing that, okay, we have a principle here that we need to apply to our elections, and they're poor exegetes.
Yeah.
This is not the same situation. This isn't a representative government where we have two choices that have been put before us to choose from. I would see this more analogous to our primaries.
Sure.
That we should be encouraging men of quality to run for office so that we have good choices when it comes to November elections.
Yeah, well, in local elections and these kind of things where we do have more of a choice.
Yeah.
We can put forward men who fit this criteria.
Yeah.
And so but what this is a blueprint for in the future when America is a Christian nation. This is how we should pick judges. This is how we should pick magistrates.
So let's make sure we're talking about this is judges.
Yes.
Not presidential, Democratic, Republic presidential races where we have a binary choice, effectively. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
So we got that issue. We don't have the luxury of going through and choosing the best quality men among us. So even though it says the word select, and we're selecting one or the other, it's not. This isn't about an election.
Yeah.
This is just not what that is.
Yeah.
And so I just look at men, and I'm disappointed in pastors who are supposed to be exegetes of the word, who look at this passage and go, "Hey, we can't vote for Trump because of this verse."
No, frankly, it feels very much like those pastors are just looking for something they can hand their people as an excuse not to vote for Trump. That's what it feels like. Because you're grasping at straws.
I get it. I mean, I don't like Trump's demeanor in terms in terms of how he's always bloviating and talking about himself. But I understand he's a politician. He's trying to win people and stuff like that. So I get it. I mean, he looks so selfish and so self-absorbed and a narcissist, and probably is. But in the same respect, I do like his demeanor that he's going to kick tail.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care what people think.
It's a package deal.
It really is. I mean, and anyway, so I get it why people are like, I don't want to vote for him. He's just so off-putting. Okay, not necessarily to you and I, but he's so off-putting.
Yeah.
I get it, but don't hang don't hang it on this verse.
Yeah.
Don't come back to this verse and say, well, this is what it is. You have lost your exegetical mind.
Yeah. Well, I've operated in the construction world and the business world enough that he just reminds me of a get-her-done businessman.
Exactly.
That's all. When I see him, all I think is the guy who gets it done.
Yeah.
He does, and it's just what it is.
Yeah.
He's not a politician. I mean, he's not worried about, how can I make this as flowery and make all the grannies like me because I'm nice.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
And he knows that's who he is.
Yeah.
And anyway.
Well, so, that's my feelings
there's
about
that verse.
This is why I just don't think that's a good verse. What was the other verse we had?
So we had multiple ones. We had
there's another one in this
23:1.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Okay.
Chapter 23, verse 1. Let me read that. Oh yeah, this one. You shall not bear a false report. Do not join your hand with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. You shall not follow the masses in doing evil, nor shall you testify in a dispute so as to turn aside after a multitude in order to pervert justice. Nor shall you be partial to a poor man in his dispute. So this is the second argument that's being given. So the primary argument is that we should select righteous rulers and from among us, which we would argue this just doesn't apply in this situation.
Yes.
And the second thing is, well, I don't want to corrupt myself by being associated with this guy, because then I'm guilty for all the evil that this man does and has done, type of thing.
Well, we're not co-signing a bill with him here, an incrementalist bill or something like that. So people have this idea that if you vote for president and then he turns around and signs a 6-week bill or whatever that me and you would disagree with as being unjust, that we have then put our name on the 6-week bill,
right?
Or that we are putting our name on all of his positions.
Yep.
That's just simply not the case.
That's foolishness.
It is.
I fundamentally reject that notion.
Well, and so it's so extremely foolish that we wouldn't even apply that to picking pastors. If I vote for a pastor for church, that doesn't mean that I agree with it because he's a dispensationalist or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I don't ascribe to every one of his beliefs just because I put my name on him, just because I said he's the guy that I want.
Sure.
And so you take that to this position. I disagree with Trump on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I disagree with J.D. Vance. I listened to some of his thing with Joe Rogan. He is weak on homosexuality. He's weak
both of them are.
100% on the trans argument. I want them both. I don't have a problem with them because they're too extreme. I have a problem with them because they are not near extreme enough.
Yeah. That's
my problem with them. And so I am excited, frankly, about the future of the Republican Party because of J.D. Vance. I think he's a Buchananite. He's a paleocon, and I'm excited about that shift. But there's a lot of work to do.
I think I
still want to push him.
This is a little rabbit trail here, but I think the societal shift is happening under our feet here, where the tide is turned against the whole woke ideology, LGBT stuff like that. And these guys are going to catch up to that. Yeah, I think we'll go back. That's my opinion. Yeah. But regardless of that, let's just examine in this text again, because we're good exegetes. You shall not bear a false report. All right, you should not lie. Yep. All right. Do not join your hand with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. So if a man comes to you and says, hey, I'd like you to lie against so-and-so, we would say no. So this is about actual sin, personal sin, engaging in personal sin. This isn't associating with someone who may or may not, there's the rumors and all those kind of things, have sin. This is about an actual sin. Yes. We as a people should be very guarded to the corrupt, if there's somebody corrupt around us, to not be corrupted with them. Yeah. This isn't about their corruption, and if I touch them and if I approve of them in some area or I like them in some area, that I'm guilty of something that they've done. That is poor exegesis. Yeah, well, so what would be analogous to this is if Trump came to us and said, hey, guys, I want y'all to help me cheat. Yeah. To become president. Yeah, then we'd be like, no, we don't. That would literally be joining hands to be a false witness. Yeah, that is what this is applying to. Yes. Yeah. So this doesn't mean that everyone who allowed whatever king of Israel to be king and didn't fight against them, that they were joining hands with every wicked thing they did. Yeah. There were righteous men. So you think Obadiah is the classic example. In the king's house, he fears God. He's a righteous man. He's keeping the prophets alive. Yeah. But he's operating within Ahab and Jezebel's house. Yeah. And he is like following their orders. Yep. And he's not doing this. Yep. You're talking about 1 Kings 18, 19, that area? Yes, where you've got Obadiah, it was Obadiah, wasn't it? Yeah, he's a righteous prophet within he's not a prophet, but he's like a magistrate or a commander within the king's... And so, Ahab becomes king, he's got Jezebel, and she's killing prophets. He is hiding them and rescuing them and operating within the king's house, and the scriptures say he was a man that feared God greatly. Yeah. And so he's not joining hands with a wicked ruler. He's operating in his station, and he's obeying God in all that he can and protecting life. Yeah. And so he's not
joining his hands with Jezebel in the murder just because he is there.
Yeah.
He's actually working to preserve life within their own household.
I think there's lots of examples, and I wrote out a few of these that are more analogous to where we're at. So Daniel and Babylon. Sure. You got to work within the system that you're in. We're in America. We have a binary system. We have to work within the system we're in. Daniel agreeing or coming to the king does not mean that he gives approval to everything that is done in that. But he works within the system.
Well, and he's told literally to work for the good of Babylon.
Yeah, and he does.
And Babylon is doing bad things.
Yeah.
But that's still, it doesn't, and so you work for the good of the land that you're in, and you still push for righteousness.
Right.
When they tell you you're not going to worship God, you go and you throw your window open and you pray 3 times a day.
Yeah. You do the little things, subtle things
yes.
that you can do. Let me give you, there's Esther in Persia.
Yep.
There's Joseph in Egypt.
Yep.
There's Nehemiah within the system that he is with the Persian king Artaxerxes and stuff like that. And then, of course, you got Paul in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Working within the systems that they have been given to bring about righteous means. That's where we find ourselves today. We have a binary choice, effectively, between what we would say is pure evil,
yep.
and then and we would argue that no Christian, you've checked out. If you are voting for Kamala and call yourself Christian, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And then on the Trump side, yes, Trump's not a perfect man, but he is qualitatively better
yep.
than Kamala. Within the system that we have. We're working within the system. That doesn't mean I am everything that Trump is.
So people want to put this as if it's an issue of degrees.
Yeah.
Like, well, Trump is still, he's bad, but maybe not as bad. You know, and you had Piper came out years ago just talking about how Trump was just as bad as Biden and all this garbage, and it's just so pathetic. It's not an issue of degrees. It's not. Trump is a force for good, I believe, in America. That doesn't mean he's right on everything, but he is a force for good, I believe. And you've got Kamala, who is just absolutely everything is pushing wickedness.
Yeah.
He is pushing back against the wickedness, but our problem with him, it's not enough.
Yeah,
he's the one arguing, you shouldn't be murdering babies, and we're like, yeah, keep going, Donald, keep going. All the babies, all the way up to conception. Every life is precious. Every life is valuable. Quit with the IVF nonsense and all this stuff.
Garbage is good.
And so anyway, and J.D. Vance, same thing. I want to see him be convicted that he's not going far enough. Yeah. That he's not honoring God in everything he does. I want them to be ruling according to the scriptures, but they are pushing back against the evil.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue of degrees.
There's a reason why the abortion industry is against Trump and J.D. Vance, even though they've softened their position. Yep. They're still representing 100% a more positive position.
Well, then what did we see last time? He governed much more conservatively and righteously than he campaigned on.
Yeah, and I keep saying this. I hope people listen to this. I really believe like somebody like a Dusty Devers could be cabinet position worthy kind of guy, and also have the ability to pick up the phone and on an issue of abortion, sit with the president and say, here's what the issue is, and here's why this is important.
Yeah. And
this is consistent, and this is, God blesses this. And Trump has listened in the past to our positions.
Well, whatever you think about Mark Driscoll, but he was in the room with Mark Driscoll just the other day.
Yeah.
Mark Driscoll, and so he is listening to the right type of people.
Yeah.
He
has demonstrated that he'll listen to the church.
Yeah, and I kind of like Mark Driscoll, but don't get me started on that. That's a rabbit trail.
That's a snake. Whoa. So I want to say positively here, one of the reasons that I am voting for Trump is because I love my neighbor. I love this nation. I love my community. I love my family.
Yep.
I love all of them.
I'm doing it for my grandchildren.
And I want what's best for our nation.
Yep.
And for all of those people I just mentioned. Now, some will say, well, what about the neighbor in the womb? I love my neighbor in the womb too. And I will be a vocal. I mean, literally, if Tuesday, I don't know that we'll get the election results by Tuesday night. But let's say by Tuesday night, we know that Trump won it all. On Wednesday, I'm going to come out strong on abortion and calling him to repent and calling him to have a clear mind on this and praying for that.
Yes.
That God would, and I do believe that that is in the realm of possibility. If God can change the hearts of Nebuchadnezzar and others leaders that were wicked.
Yes.
And Nebuchadnezzar building statues for himself and self-absorbed and all this kind of stuff. If God can humble a man like that, he can humble Trump. And they say, well, he could humble Kamala. No, you have to cast out the demon first. There's a difference here qualitatively.
Did you see what Calvin Robinson said?
No.
He said, I know Jesus Christ is not on the ballot, but Jezebel is.
Yes.
It's the best line ever.
That is a good line. All right.
So, but to what you just said, I want to make sure everyone's clear that we're not voting for Trump in spite. We're not abolitionists in spite of voting for Trump. We are voting for him specifically because we're abolitionists.
Yeah.
I believe it is the abolition position because I believe men like Dusty Deevers are going to be unleashed. I believe that everything's going to move in that direction where abolition and Christian nationalism can get a foothold in this country and start actually producing just laws.
Yeah, I don't think our abolitionist friends that are pretty vocal about it, I don't think they can see that. They're blinded to the necessity of a man who is for righteous things in other categories in order for that to affect this issue on abortion.
Yes. Well, and a lot of the old abolition guys used to argue that it needed to be put in the state's hands.
Yeah.
That it needed to be that the laws against murder and abortion should be done more on a state level. But of course now they've all flipped because that's what Trump's saying.
Yeah.
But I think it should go to the state level. And that means that if California is voting to murder babies, well, that's wicked and God's going to judge them. But a state should have the ability to make these laws and not be hindered by the federal government from protecting life.
It's too big of a bite to say all of the states federally that we need to have this when I can affect my region, I can affect my city. I can affect it for righteousness. I can literally stand on the corner of my city and hold a sign and engage with people.
Winning Kentucky's doable.
I can affect my state. Anyways, that total separate issue. There's a couple other verses that have been given. I just want to look at those. And honestly, they all still fall in the same vein. Isaiah 1:15 was one.
You want to look at that one?
Yeah, let's look at that real quick. But they're in the same vein of not associating yourself with wicked men,
sure.
I think.
I think I would argue with Isaiah that the abolitionists are actually doing what they're accusing us of.
Uh-oh.
So I had written down 1 through 17. Let's don't read the whole thing just for time, but
Isaiah 1:15.
Yeah, Isaiah 1:15. So
let me read it. So when you spread out your hands in prayer, I will hide my eyes from you. Yes, even though you multiply prayers, I will not listen to you. Your hands are covered with blood. So the assumption here in this passage is that that you've associated. If we associate with him, our hands are covered in blood. And again, I just reject that.
Yeah.
I reject it outright.
So if you go back and read all the way from verse 1 through 17, you've got a nation who is acting wickedly. The judgment of God is falling on them.
They're actually sinning, and the people themselves are sinning, and they're bringing stuff, to the altar, and as though everything's okay.
Yeah.
But they're still practicing wickedness.
Yeah, he's calling them Sodom and Gomorrah, which is the worst thing you can call somebody.
Yeah.
And so they're doing all this. What they're doing is they're wanting to go and lift holy hands and pray, and beseech God in the church or on their knees or in their prayer closet when they're not doing anything to establish justice.
Yeah.
And this is what I think the abolitionists are doing when they say that you can't vote for Trump. Because they're literally saying, we're going to pray, we're going to go to church faithfully, we're going to worship and hope that God grants repentance, instead of doing things that are going to promote justice and push towards justice.
Yeah.
So they're literally, in order to keep their hands clean, they are lifting their hands in prayer instead of voting in a way that would establish justice.
Yeah.
And I think they're literally doing, I don't think they should do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be too strong. I love these guys.
Yeah. So I've been kind of quiet about some of this stuff because I get attacked. I'm a compromiser. Because I've said that I'm going to vote for Trump. And but behind the scenes, meeting with legislators, I've met with a lot of legislators here, even in the last several weeks here, multiple times. Here, just a week and a half ago, we were trying to field a candidate for another district in Kentucky. And so Ref Church, we allocated $600 that we were going to spend on printing through our we have Five Solas Press. We were going to print all of these materials and stuff to try to get this abolitionist in.
Yeah.
And then it worked out that we couldn't do that. But we're behind the scenes making all of those kind of things happen in our state to try to affect this issue. There are multiple bills of abolition that we are working towards behind the scenes. But you know what, Jerry, you're a compromiser because you're going to vote for Trump. You don't care about this issue of abortion. Actually, I spend a lot of my day working on this issue, making phone calls and talking to different people. Anyways, what are you doing? You're just not going to vote? What are you doing? It's really frustrating. It's so frustrating.
I don't get it. But it's a way to keep our own hands clean or in our minds instead of doing what we can do to establish justice. And voting is a small thing that we should all do. And I am encouraging everyone to get out and vote. I think everyone should be voting, but we should be hitting it. We should be pushing for these things on a local level because that's where we can have influence. Wherever you are, whatever town you're in, that's where you should be pushing for these things.
You better know your local representative, your senator.
Yep. And I know it's hard. I know it's a lot of work, but we've got to be more engaged in local politics.
100%.
They used to say all politics are local. That used to be a saying that everyone said. I mean, so G.K. Chesterton said, keep your politicians close enough to kick them.
Yep.
Well, I can kick some of our local guys. I know who they are. They know who we are.
Yeah.
And so there's some kicking power there. But Bashir will never know who I am. Well, he may, but he might actually know. He might know who I am.
There's a list.
But at the national level, it's hard to make influences. We're talking 350 million people, whatever.
Yeah.
Locally, we can make a difference. But the idea that we should just keep our hands clean by not voting instead of pushing for justice and pushing in the right direction, I think is just bonkers.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
Yep. Okay. There's another verse. I don't want to go to anymore. I think because they all deal with kind of the same topic, not associating yourself. And again, I just reject that outright. And I think that we're not in the situation that we find ourselves, that they found themselves in Exodus. And so I don't think any of those verses apply to that. We're to seek the good of our neighbor.
Yeah.
And I believe that right now that is Trump.
Yeah.
He's best for our economy, best for social issues, best for even though he's come out and said some things that are pro LGBT, they are against him.
Yeah.
You gotta look at look at his enemies, and you tell me which one.
Exactly.
When they're all in mass trying to get Kamala in.
Yes.
Why is it that they're in such opposition to him?
This is what every Christian should do. Every Christian should go out. Is it on Tuesday? Is that what it is?
It's Tuesday.
Wednesday?
Tuesday. That's embarrassing. But go ahead.
Well, I'm early voting, so I didn't keep up. I don't even know what day it is. I flew in at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock last night. So every Christian should go out and vote for Trump and pray that he becomes our president. And then as soon as he does, we need to start pushing him in the right direction towards righteousness, towards justice, and calling him to account as a magistrate under God to rule according to what pleases God.
Yeah. He should constantly hear from the church, from pastors and members that are just constantly writing him and calling him out. And I would not do it with the vitriol and that. I don't think he's going to respond to that kind of stuff, but I think an overwhelming message.
That the Christian church, to whatever extent, I think we have his ear.
I do.
And I think we need to be using that
and
not voting for him. And one thing I wanted to touch on real quick was some of the, these abolitionists have made the argument that we should not vote Trump and then vote Republican down the ballot in order to make a statement to the RNC that we want someone, that we don't like this because he's for a 6-week ban or whatever. I think that is the dumbest thing that I have ever heard in my entire life. The RNC already hates him because he's too extreme on all the issues that we're talking about in their minds.
Yeah.
They think he's too extreme. And if everyone doesn't vote Trump, what the message is not going to be, we want a Christian prince. They're not going to get that message.
Yeah.
I think it's insanity.
They're going to think we need more moderation, more middle of the road.
Exactly.
When we want more extreme positions
exactly.
on these issues. Well,
yeah.
They're not extreme in God's economy.
They're going to think we want someone more like Russell Moore, someone that's more mealy-mouthed, or someone that's not... people hate him because of his directness. I want someone more direct.
Blunt. Yeah,
that's
one thing I think. All right, I don't know if we've killed this snake for now.
Yeah.
This one's going to be an early release. I don't think we're going to release an episode on Tuesday this week because...
This one,
I'm probably going to release this tomorrow, Sunday.
Yep.
And so that it can percolate for a couple days before the election. If there's anybody holding out and holding on to these nails for why you shouldn't vote... I'm just stop it.
Friends, go vote.
Just go vote and
vote.
Stop being doing this. All right.
And for all our abolitionist friends, we love you. I think you're incredibly wrong here, and you need to go vote for Trump on Tuesday.
All right. If you've got a question for us, you can write to us at snakeonthetable@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear. We've got some questions that are coming up that have been asked and that we're excited to tackle, and hopefully we'll get to those soon.
God bless.